Hey everyone, how's it going? I hope you guys are having a good one. Before I begin the video, you will probably hear birds. They are going crazy outside, so if you hear the tweets, well, it can't be helped. I apologize. But we're going to talk about Battlefield 6 today. Mainly some of the recent news that we have gotten with Battlefield 6. Now, I kind of wanted to wait and kind of cover everything all at once because Battlefield 6 is still quite a ways away. It's not going to be here till next year. And there isn't any crazy news we're getting right now. No gameplay footage or anything, at least that I can show on YouTube, right? But just waiting on the news cycle to come through and see what's going on with Battlefield 6. And the first thing we have here is kind of more of a bit of a confirmation, or a potential confirmation, I should say, of the wars taking place in would help if I could talk. The United States of America. Now, this is something a lot of Battlefield fans have wanted for a very long time. We have had a lot of wars. I think every Battlefield game had wars that took place anywhere but the United States. I could be wrong about that, but we saw with Battlefield Hardline, that was the only game that had any kind of gameplay in the United States. I didn't want to say war because it's not. It's a cops and robbers game, right? But it's something a lot of people have wanted. I think getting out of the Middle Eastern settings and the European settings and stuff would be a little bit more refreshing, and it would make sense as well because this is a global war in Battlefield, right? And so it would make sense that there would be some conflict in the United States. We saw with the end of Bad Company 2 when the Russians invaded Alaska, and it got you thinking, oh my goodness, like the next Bad Company 3, the Bad Company 3 is going to be amazing. It's going to have wars taking place in the United States, which, that never arrived. But again, this is basically says Battlefield 6 Battle Royale opening leaks in Vine-linked clip as data miner claims the map is set in California. Again, it's a claim. It's not 100% confirmed, but we did hear that there was going to be a map in New York City or around New York City, and now California as well. Now, I am not a big Battle Royale fan, so I probably will not be playing that. I don't like Battle Royale in Battlefield 6. I think it needs to be separate or just like not there. But there are people who do like Battle Royale, and if you are one of them, well, you can rejoice because, well, we are having that take place allegedly in California. So there we go. You can check out the article at Games Radar. I'll leave it in the description below. We will continue on with this Kotaku article. We're not going to read the whole thing, but it is talking about the budget for Battlefield 6. And this is wild to me because I think this is the most money Battlefield has ever spent on their games. The EA has ever spent on a Battlefield game. Battlefield 6's budget is over $400 million. That's around the same amount of money spent on Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom, Star Wars The Force Awakens, and Fast X, some of the most expensive movies ever made, though it is about half of what Activision has spent on the recent Call of Duty games like Black Ops and Cold War. Okay, so that's a little concerning to me because it seems like they want to get back into a game war with Call of Duty. Call of Duty and Battlefield, to me, have always been separate entities in terms of first-person shooters. Battlefield was kind of a perfect balance between, in my opinion, between a milsim and an arcade shooter, where Call of Duty is completely an arcade shooter. And most people like to play Call of Duty because of, well, it's a little bit easier, it's a little bit funner to get, like you get the kill streak rewards and stuff like that, where Battlefield, it's more of a team focused style game and stuff like that. It rewards squad efforts and teamwork. So I don't really like comparing the two, but it seems like EA wants to do that again because, like, let's say back in Battlefield 3 and 4, they were trying to compete with Call of Duty, and they always lost. So I'm hoping that they're not spending this much money to try to compete with Call of Duty. But I'm sure that's what they're going to be doing. But with that, we're going to go ahead and move to this article from Rock, Paper, Shotgun. Now, I'm going to read this article because it's got quite a bit in it that I want to talk about. Now, the title is Battlefield 6 reportedly has 100 million player albatross around its necks. So, EA is expecting 100 million players for this game. That is really, to me, unrealistic. I think the most a Battlefield game has brought in terms of player count was Battlefield 1, and I think that was like 30 million. I don't know like the others, but I know Battlefield 1 was the most popular Battlefield game, and rightly so. It was really fun. It was really good. And it was different, right? It was World War One. We didn't see anything like that. Um, but it continues. The single player is running massively late. This is another concerning thing here because I really enjoyed the single player for Battlefield. They did not have it in Battlefield 6, but I'm wondering, hearing this news, if they're just going to scrap it completely, which would be pretty disappointing. But we're going to continue. This was written by Mark Warren here, so all credit goes to Mark. Battlefield 6's many leaks have earned it a bit of Deadlock-style buzz, but it seems things haven't been going well behind the scenes. A new report from Ars Technica, based on the conversations with current and former developers, details a budget that's beyond big. Now, we talked about that earlier, $400 million, right? A campaign that's running massively late following the studio closure and its unrealistic sounding executive goal for attracting 100 million players. That's just, again, that's unrealistic, especially for Battlefield. According to the report, the game, codenamed Glacier, is costing EA well north of $400 million, with that number being way more than any entry in the series has previously commanded. That's what I thought. I don't think any Battlefield game has come close to that, but it continues. The execs have their eyes set on competing with Call of Duty, Fortnite, just Call of Duty and Fortnite, rather. So they've put plans in place for a single-player campaign alongside free-to-play Battle Royale. Okay, that's good if that's true. That's really good if it's a free-to-play. I don't think that we needed to pay for that because that's what we got with the other Battlefield. I think Battlefield 5 was the first one, right? And then 2042 continued it. So as long as it's free-to-play, maybe separate, like kind of like how Warzone was, that's good. With classic multiplayer modes such as Rush and a community content mode dubbed Portal all chucked into this big FPS stew. Portal could be interesting. The problem with Portal for 2042, like the guns were just broken in some cases. I went back to try to play the Battlefield Bad Company 2 maps with the Bad Company 2 weapons and stuff like that, and I noticed, I don't know if you all did too, but a lot of the guns were broken. They weren't shooting right. They weren't shooting straight. You would be dead on target on something, and the bullets would be going over here, and it was not good. It was not fun. The idea of it was fun, but the implementation, it just kind of felt like they had it out there, and then they were just like, okay, well, let's just focus on something else now. So it wasn't as great as I thought it would, and I was really excited for Portal mode. Now, it would be cool if Portal mode for this one, if it's available, that there was a lot more player freedom. It would be really cool if we can create our own maps and stuff like that, as well as game modes. But I don't think that will happen. But it would still be really, really cool to give you that player freedom, that player choice of creating player freedom rather, creating the maps and stuff. I think that could potentially bring in a lot of people, but they won't do that. That skill has reportedly also led the suits to slap Battlefield 6 with equally huge goals: 100 million players over the set period of time that included post-launch. According to one source, obviously Battlefield has never achieved those numbers before. Like I said, I don't think any Battlefield game has come even close or even halfway. An EA employee told ours, with another adding that over about that same period, Battlefield 2042 had only gotten 22 million. Battlefield 1, believed to be the series' peak, has apparently attracted maybe 30 million plus, which is what I thought. It was the most popular Battlefield game. In total, shifting about 15 million copies between its October 2011 launch and June 2012 launch. It's probably not a surprise to learn that then that very few people actually working on that game reportedly believe that the 100 million figures is achievable. That much resting on there being such an appetite out there for shooters of this kind that we will just naturally be able to get the audience. Yeah, you're not like, sorry about that. My kid walked up the stairs, but yeah, that is to me not realistic there because, I think if they want a 100 million figure, they have to do something like a free to play kind of style game like Fortnite or something like that. And Battlefield's very specific, right? It like I said, it's like a mix between a mil sim and a arcade shooter. It's not strictly an arcade shooter, and some people just can't grasp it. They like to treat it like a Call of Duty game where they want to go and run and gun, but that's not always the case. You can't always do that. You have to focus on teamwork and stuff like that for the most part, not always, but especially for new players. And this is something that they're wanting to get into, where they want this new audience and the audience to grow and find people, because like I said, like I was saying, not everybody likes first person shooter games, and if anybody's going to try it out, I mean, it has to be fun for them. And this is one thing I think why they're trying to say that every class can use every weapon. Something that a lot of Battlefield fans don't want. They wanted each classes to have their own unique style of weapons and gadgets and stuff like that. And this is obviously showing us that, at least to me, that they are trying to branch out to a wider audience to make the game a little bit more playable for everybody. And in a way, I like that, but it concerns me because I don't want it to take away the identity for Battlefield, because it's I think the perfect balance between milsim and a arcade shooter. But the rest of the report details that the game's single player element is as running massively late. Um, Following EA's February 2024 closure of Ridgeline Games, something that could lead to a massive day one patch, delayed features, and/or devs being pushed extra hard to fit everything in before the deadline. Um, yes, so 2042 didn't have a single player, right? And I like the single player modes for Battlefield games. I think the stories have been told pretty well, and it's just nice to kind of sit back and relax. You just play a single player game, right? And the first person single player games. That's one thing I really like about Call of Duty is their single player campaigns. And honestly, that's one reason why I play Call of Duty is just for the single player. And with 2022 didn't have one, well, that was a problem for me because I really wanted a single player Battlefield game. And it's not like they couldn't have done it because they had the characters already built in, right? Where we all had to play the characters that they had. It wasn't a unique soldier, right? So they could have done a story with each character, but they didn't. Kind of like what they did with Battlefield 5, right? And Battlefield 1, where each character had their own unique story during the battle, and they could have definitely have done something like that in 2042, but that's not what we got. So it is a little disheartening to see that there will be no single player campaign. Well, I'm sorry, that there may not be a single player campaign because of its delay. And with its delay, or it being behind rather, I don't know if they're going to go through with it, because I don't know. EA just, I don't think they really care about single player games too much, or single player stories, especially nowadays more than others. So I think they really want to focus on this multiplayer aspect because it would bring more people in. Now, not saying that single player campaign won't bring anybody in, but their way of thinking may be, well, if it's just running too late, we won't even include it because it's not important. Which it is important to a lot of people. A lot of people really prefer the single player stories for first person shooters, and Battlefield was one of the ones that had a really good single player campaign. But yeah, my main concerns with all this, we're not going to get into the rest of it. I mean, that's all it is right here. But I'll leave a link to the articles in the description below. Again, this was written by Mark Warren, but the player count is obviously unrealistic. It is obviously unrealistic, and they're trying to compare it to games that aren't like Battlefield. I get it that they are first-person shooter games, or they're first-person or I'm sorry, they're shooter games, but it's its own thing. And I think that if they recognize that it's its own thing and just focus on what makes Battlefield, they should that should be enough, you know. Now obviously they're a company, they're out to make profit, but you can make profit and still produce a good game. You know, your fan base will be willing to spend money on it. Hell, you can add the cosmetics and stuff. As long as it's a good game, people are going to buy your cosmetics. People are going to buy whatever you put out, if it's reasonable, of course. But yeah, like there's no reason why you want it, you know. Um, but this really concerns me. It really concerns me because if they're having this expectation, and it fails, this could be the end of Battlefield in more ways than one, right? They have the unrealistic expectation here, 100 million players. If it doesn't reach it, will EA can it? We don't know. We don't know. Crazier things have happened. And then you have all the fans who are like, if this game isn't a true Battlefield game, like 2042 was not a true Battlefield game, a lot of people are upset. And I think a lot of people are just like, hey, this is your last chance. This is your last chance. And if you burn me on this, we're done, you know? And I'm kind of one of those people. You know, 2042 was not great. It wasn't a bad game, but it wasn't Battlefield. The Specialist really ruined it for me. I mentioned Portal mode earlier. When I got 2042, I strictly wanted to play Portal mode, but with the modes that I wanted to play, it was kind of unplayable because of the way the guns worked in the game. And it felt like they just put it in and then just didn't really take care of it. Now that could just be me, but I got the game just to play Portal. But I'm just really worried right now because with what their expectations, and you know, if this game isn't on it for the fans, it's done. I think it's done. I think we won't see another Battlefield game, at least not for a while. But that's really concerning to me. The single player thing does stink. If it does get left behind, since it's running massively late, that will stink. But it's not necessarily a deal breaker for me. I think that it could survive without a single player campaign. But again, just that number, guys, that number is, they're not going to hit it. And I think if they're doing this free to play battle royale mode here, hopefully, I think maybe they're trying to say, let's count the player count here and here, and maybe they can get that number up. Because again, people like me out there who do not like the battle royale modes don't want to have anything to do with it, where there are people who love battle royales and they might try it out. So it being a free to play element is good, and if they kind of combine the player numbers there, maybe that would work. But still, you think that Battlefield 1 had a max of allegedly 30 million. I just don't see it. I don't see it, and I'm just really worried for the future of Battlefield. But yeah, let me know in the comments what you guys think. What do you think about this unrealistic expectation? Do you think that it can be possible for them to hit it? It does say that it has to be within the deadline, but again, Battlefield 1 had that 30 million. That was their top. But are you interested in the battle royale mode? What do you think about the maps in the United States? Are you excited for those? What do you think about the single player situation? Are you a little worried that it might not make it, that they're running late on it? But yeah, that's pretty much all we got for Battlefield 6 right now. If you liked the video, leave a like. If you did not like the video, thank you for staying around so long. Subscribe if you want to. As always, I do this all for fun. I hit 26 subscribers, which is amazing. I said before, I never even thought I'd hit 10. So the fact that you guys are out there and you're listening to what I'm saying and you're you're bearing with me and everything, right? I really do appreciate you guys. You have no idea how much it means to me to kind of come out here and do all this and put myself out there. It can be embarrassing at times, but it is fun. It is fun, and I highly recommend that if you have been thinking about doing it, do it, because you never know until you try, right? But that's pretty much all I've got to say. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Take care.